It feels like every tech company on the planet right now is chasing the dream of the perfect mixed reality device. Apple's trying, and currently not doing very well with the Vision Pro and whatever smart glass patent that Macroom has discovered for the 5th time this month. Meta is dominating the market with their Ray-Bans, Oakleys, and Quests, and Google is trying something. Not sure what though. The dream is clearly the glasses form factor. Small, lightweight, and able to augment your existing world with heads-up displays for navigation, music, and, knowing that Meta's involved, advertising. But as of right now, no one is really there yet. However, despite it being not exactly what you'd think, VITURE is one of the underdogs who has come the closest, and their newest product lineup brings them even closer to that finish line. With a claimed perceived screen size of 152 inches and a crisp 1200p resolution, support for basically anything with USB display out straight out of the box, and any HDMI device with an additional accessory, and the closest we've ever gotten to full head tracking in a device of this size, the VITURE Luma Pro XR is easily the best mixed reality portable monitor experience that I've ever had, and essentially everything that big tech is after. However, that doesn't make it perfect, and there's one thing in particular that you'll have to watch out for that might make you want to hold back for just a moment. For complete transparency here, VITURE was kind enough to send these over for me to check out for review, along with the USB-C XR Plus charging adapter and the mobile dock. And they've been patient enough with me to deal with shipping delays, my courses dropping multiple assignments on me in the same week, and my own personal stuff getting in the way of me doing frankly anything. I can't thank these guys enough. For future reference, I might need to be medicated. VITURE is seeing an early copy of the script and video solely to ensure that my video remains brand safe and to confirm that I'm not doing anything completely wrong in my testing, and they have absolutely zero control over how I decide to review the product otherwise. What you're about to watch is my opinion, completely unmodified. First off, the glasses themselves. Inside the box with the fun logo that changes colors, you'll get some documentation, some stickers, and a pin, which do actually come in the shipping box, but magnetically attaching nose pad replacements to make it easier to dial in your perfect fit, these other stickers, I'll talk about them later, a cleaning cloth, and of course the glasses themselves, in the case with the magnetic USB-C cable. You're going to notice straight away that the clout of bigger companies does make for a more stylish product, because of the partnerships that organizations like Meta can make with known designers like Ray-Ban. The glasses themselves look pretty good, definitely slightly larger and more noticeable than normal glasses and even something like Meta's Ray-Bans or Even's G1s, but I much prefer the case of the Ray-Bans in particular, especially to carry around in a bag considering the extra thickness of the VITURE one. Taking a look at the accessories as well, I'll start off with the XR charging adapter. In that box, you'll get some documentation and the adapter. Pretty simple product, and I'll get into the use it actually has later. The mobile dock, however, is definitely more interesting. There you'll get some documentation, the dock itself, and a USB-C cable. Packaging's pretty nice too, but again, I'll get into actually using those later. The glasses here don't really have a setup on their own, at least in software. You'll want to start by finding a perfect fit with the included nose pads and then adjusting the temples for a better viewing angle. My representative over at VITURE noted how much they personally enjoyed the noise it makes when you adjust them, and I do have to agree with that now that I'm fully aware that they're supposed to do that, because unboxing them and immediately hearing a crack after holding them was terrifying for a second. It's very similar in feel to the 3DS XL hinge, if that's a reference most of you get. Actually, you're all dinosaurs, you should understand. You may also need to adjust for your eyesight with the dials on top above the lenses. However, I found it was pretty well configured out of the box for my eyesight, and making adjustments just kind of made it worse for me, and it looks really good already. Once you've physically set up the glasses, you can just kind of plug them into any USB-C device that supports display out with the included cable. Just snap the magnet onto the right temple here and plug right in. However, if you're using it with a supported device, you'll probably also want the Spacewalker software installed to really get the most out of them. That's what enables the head tracking features and what actually makes it more useful than just a big screen in front of you, although that is pretty cool and useful on its own. After you initially plug them in, you'll also definitely want to run a full calibration of the sensors and update the firmware to make sure it's all up to par. You can do all of that with any computer in Chromium-based browsers without any extra software. And speaking of that firmware, it's mostly just kind of what you'd expect from a standard monitor on-screen display, allowing you to control the brightness and volume, toggle the shockingly good electrochromic glass to block out the outside world, switch from 2D to 3D playback, and toggle the LED lights that are on the temples. Although I'm not entirely sure if I'm doing something wrong or not, but I don't think that they work on my unit.
So actually, I'm a liar. Check this out.
Putting the Pro XRs on, these are surprisingly comfortable considering what is packed inside of them. The nose pads do a great job at lifting all of the weight, much better than the Ray-Bans and pretty similar to the Even G1s, despite the fact that a lot of the weight gravitates towards the lenses, because that's where the screens are. Having your cable leading down also does help balance it out a bit more, but that counterbalance only comes from the right unless you route the cable around, so you'll want to think of that as well. Over extended uses, I did initially notice a slight amount of discomfort behind my ear where the cable sits, but I found that I eventually kind of just got used to it, and routing the cable, like I just mentioned, around the back of my neck to kind of sit on the left shoulder eliminates that issue entirely. Plugging into my MacBook for the first time, I was genuinely in shock at how bright that 1000 nit display really is, and then I was immediately more shocked by the overall crispness and color accuracy. All of those which were thoughts that ran through my mind continuously over the past few days. I found that without any other extra software or configuration, the display is either cut off a bit at the top, the bottom, or both, depending on your nosepad. And at least in my experience, you might need to physically push the glasses up or down to view the whole screen. Spacewalker does solve this issue though, thankfully, but you're out of luck if you're using something that doesn't support it. While I'm rambling about specs, the display also includes a 120Hz refresh rate and uses 0.68-inch micro OLED panels from Sony, up from the 0.55-inch panels from their last lineup. VITURE really likes to use the term 4K-like, and while the displays look absolutely incredible, the true resolution is not 4K. It's 1920 by 1200 with a 16 by 10 aspect ratio as reported by my Steam Deck in 2D viewing mode. You'll have a 52-degree field of view here, which is more than enough for the applications that you will be using here. The screen has 108% coverage of the sRGB color spectrum with a 100,000 to 1 contrast ratio, and it also does support full 3D playback, which enables some really cool functionality that I'll talk about later. I cannot stress how much crisper, cleaner, and more responsive this image is for using a standard desktop OS, especially compared to something like MetaQuest HDMI Link or Remote Desktop. Looking at audio now, the Pro XRs have built-in speakers from Harman. These aren't bone conduction or anything fancy, I say as I talk about the headphones in my glasses. They are just tiny speakers, but they pack some serious punch for this form factor. Coming from the Meta Ray-Bans and previous experiences with things like the Bose frames, I was shocked to actually hear and feel bass here. Look, it's not Skull Candy Crusher's level of bass, but considering there's basically none on the Meta Ray-Bans, it is a huge improvement. And there is some real loudness here. In saying that, these bleed like they just got shot, and you'll want headphones instead for any listening that isn't in your home or another private space. Now that we've actually used the glasses, let's check out the accessories, starting with the charging adapter. The primary purpose for this specific thing, outside of just letting you plug the glasses and a charger into your phone at the same time, is also enabling head tracking and automatic 3D switching on the iOS version of Spacewalker. This accessory isn't a strict necessity. For one, Android users can just plug straight into their phone and get full functionality, and iOS users can just plug straight into USB-C and just forego the two features I just mentioned. I'm not entirely sure why iOS in particular requires the extra $80 adapter for all of that. My first guess is it's just Apple being Apple and iOS quirks, but VITURE also doesn't really explain it at all, so I can't particularly confirm. This adapter does exactly what it says, enabling those other features and letting you plug in a charger. I have noticed that occasionally it'll have some weird effects at certain angles, but this doesn't happen very often, and it could also be impacted by my phone case. There have also been some very rare occasions where the adapter isn't detected properly, but I'm also running a developer beta on my phone, and I could probably safely chalk it down to that. Next up, the mobile dock. This one is really cool. If you're planning on using anything that just plugs straight into HDMI, like a Google TV dongle for example, or more importantly, planning on using a Switch, this is an essential. On the dock, there's a HDMI input port, this middle USB-C port for charging the dock and powering other devices like that aforementioned Google dongle, and two glasses outputs so you could share your viewing experience with another VITURE owner. That middle USB-C port can also take over the role of a traditional Switch dock. Just plug your Switch or Switch 2 straight in and watch the screen appear within the glasses. The fact that this works on the Switch 2 immediately is incredibly surprising for me. The 8BitTo Ultimate 2 controller that I covered in my review required a specific firmware update to work for that system, and it seems like a lot of other third-party docks just don't work as of right now. So having that compatibility out of the box is really useful. I've seen reports that the included cable apparently just doesn't work on the Switch 2, but it worked perfectly for me. It could have been very cool for the 3 degree of freedom tracking to be included within the hardware here, but that would have exponentially increased the cost, and it's probably also a nightmare to figure it out for two pairs of glasses, and honestly I just don't think it's as essential here. Even when you don't have the glasses with you, it's just really helpful as a big ass battery pack. It's rated for 6500 mAh, and you can charge things without using glasses. There's also plenty of other accessories I don't have. If you're looking for a more standalone experience, there's the Pro neckband, which gives you all of the productivity and entertainment features you'd really ever need, using a custom Android OS, extra sensors for hand tracking, up to 256 gigs of storage and 12 gigs of RAM, and 4 hours of usage on a single charge. That's probably the only other accessory I'd personally go for, but they've also got HDMI adapters for Lightning iPhones, physical cover shades if the electrochromic glass isn't enough, mounts to attach your Switch 1, 2, or Steam Deck to the mobile dock, and more. Most of my usage over the review period has been on my Mac with Spacewalker, and it's been a really great experience overall. It hasn't exactly replaced my actual ultra-wide monitor in my home office / bedroom / YouTube set, but it's an incredible experience when I don't want to be confined to my desk or when I'm out and about on a train or something. Spacewalker obviously takes advantage of everything in the hardware of the glasses alone, but then also actually enables the head tracking and harnesses the power of my Mac to give me functionality like multiple virtual monitors, distance adjustments, and more. The tracking is shockingly responsive considering it has to go down the cable, be processed on the computer, and then come back, although drift does still occur occasionally, even after running all of the calibrations and recentering my view. When it does drift, you just look straight ahead and press a keyboard shortcut, so it's not too bad, but it's still something you'll want to consider. If you're only using one virtual screen or more but further away, you can also lock all of the axes of movement in the Spacewalker menu. When you plug the glasses into your system, you can pick between one of a few different monitor arrangements, like a single ultra-wide or one horizontal and 2 vertical displays, and it immediately springs to life in your eyes, up to tripling your monitor real estate, all running at 120Hz or whatever refresh rate you decide on. It does take a second to get used to, but once it clicks, it is literally just the benefits of using multiple displays, but anywhere. Even just using one screen with Spacewalker has some extra improvements over just, plugging straight in, like having smooth follow. Spacewalker's implementation here solves basically all of the problems with just the raw hardware of the glasses, but it does introduce a couple of others. For one, with the way the displays are set out, it does add a bit of extra distance and it doesn't feel as large of a display, but it does completely eliminate the issue of that display being cut off by simply making it a bit smaller and adding a customizable background. And if you really feel like it, you can just bring it way up close to you and have to do this to see everything. Overall, you get a much better experience. Now for the next few issues, you kind of need to know how Spacewalker works to understand why they exist. From what I've gathered, at least on macOS, it detects your glasses as a physical second display, and it creates the necessary virtual displays which will show up in the Spacewalker app, which is full screened in the glasses. Spacewalker does all of that and adds the background, applies the tracking data, and handles all of the calibration and resizing stuff. This implementation works really well. The latency is practically unnoticeable, and it's easily the best way of doing it. But Apple's stubbornness definitely adds a bit of jank. First of all, macOS hides all notifications by default when an app is using screen sharing, so you'll need to turn that feature off to actually receive updates when you're using the app, because it doesn't just see it as a monitor, it sees it as, your screen sharing on something like Discord or Teams. And as far as I can tell, mission control just doesn't really work when using Spacewalker, because triggering mission control triggers it on all displays. So the virtual display you're looking at will just go away and you can't see it. Unlike the last issue, which can be fixed, I cannot find a way to exclusively open mission control on one screen instead of all of them. I mentioned the one big thing you'll have to watch out for in the intro, and it's a current lack of any better tracking than 3 degrees of freedom. Under this pre-installed sticker, remember I mentioned the sticker earlier, lies a camera that will eventually be enabled for full 6 degree of freedom tracking. This brings the tracking quality and the potential up from something like a Google Cardboard to a weaker Quest. While obviously more cameras and sensors would significantly improve 6 degrees of freedom, having one camera at least to anchor the device in the real world is going to change everything, and should hypothetically completely eliminate drift while also opening up the door for more experiences and functionality. Unfortunately, I can't really truly let you know how it would improve things because it's not enabled yet, and in talking with my representative at VITURE, I can't really get a time frame for its release either. But I personally can't wait. You can follow me on Instagram to see an update when they do release 6 degrees of freedom. Now, kind of just speaking of Spacewalker on desktop systems, I'm not actually entirely sure where to put this, but one thing I did find really cool is that while VITURE doesn't natively support Spacewalker on Linux, they have released an SDK for the OS to allow developers to access all of that head tracking information that you would need to create your own open source version. That is awesome to see, and I want to see more companies take this approach of allowing for community support in the absence of official software.
One thing I do want to note is the SDK hasn't been updated for this line of products just yet. That means that third-party utilities that do exist, like the XR Gaming plugin for the Steam Deck, I'm very clearly plugged into the glasses and it says no device connected. Thanks to Bush featured in the Discord for reminding me to actually check that, but that is something you want to know for now.
Now, using Spacewalker on a Mac or a Windows system is basically exclusively for productivity. But after that, the next obvious use is entertainment. Plugging the glasses into your phone, for example, with Spacewalker turns your phone into a remote with motion controls and a touchpad, and your glasses into a smart TV-like experience, allowing you to stream media with the built-in browser, and even use game streaming services without opening a separate app. It all works decently enough, although a lot of the time, I just use the native iOS media apps and then they just act as if they're mirroring through AirPlay to a TV. The app has some occasional bugs, but it does do a pretty good job. The only thing that really confuses me about it is how the head tracking works, because it doesn't use it to just kind of lock the menu in your space, like the Vision Pro home screen for example, just to kind of let you scroll side to side. It's weird, but you can disable it. I guess it technically does lock into your space with the auto scroll, but it doesn't feel like it. It's not panels that wrap around you that you can look at, it's more of a stationary window that stays in front of you.
Before I do go on here, I did miss a couple of extra features in Spacewalker iOS that I do quickly want to talk about. Most notably, the ambient mode in a lot of full screen apps will let you pin a window to the corner of your vision. That, with turning off the electrochromic glass, means you can walk around, go about your day, do things with basically picture-in-picture with real life. You can also pin an app to a certain area of your view as well when you're using the adapter, kind of having the same effect of like Quest or Vision Pro where you just set an app down somewhere. You can also turn on Smooth Follow with the adapter for individual apps.
However, if you'll recall, the iPhone 15 Pro and up can shoot native spatial content using the ultra-wide and main lens. You'll see where I'm going with this, because these are the easiest way to view that footage outside of just using a Vision Pro. You don't need to mess around with a Meta app to import it all. And that's honestly the most compelling use for Spacewalker on iOS to me. You can just select the photo library app from within Spacewalker and start playing all of your spatial content. If you have the XR charging adapter, it just automatically clicks into 3D mode, and if you don't, you just need to hold one of the side buttons to, switch it into that mode. If you've shot anything in spatial and haven't watched it in 3D yet, it is a magical experience, and the glasses with their incredibly bright, crisp, and color-accurate display makes it even better. Also, if you haven't shot anything in spatial and you have a compatible phone, start now. But alas, I have another twist, because included in Spacewalker is a feature called Immersive 3D. You might remember that Apple introduced something similar to visionOS last year, allowing you to convert any 2D photo into a spatial photo, and VITURE has taken this to the next level, allowing you to convert any 2D photo or video into stereoscopic 3D. This is incredible. This functionality amazes me, and I cannot wait to explore this further once I've got a chance after this review to just relax with the device. I have almost 26,000 photos and videos in my iCloud dating back to September of 2012, when I was 5 years old, and being able to watch those back in 3D is an experience that will, let's be real, bring me to tears. It glitches out a bit sometimes, but the result in most cases is a fantastic conversion, albeit with a lower frame rate for 60 FPS content. Now let's talk price. The Luma Pro XR glasses are part of a series of new hardware launches from VITURE this year, and the model I reviewed today will set you back $499 and is shipping this month. If you're looking for something more basic, not as flashy but still just as functional, the standard Luma XR glasses are $399, with a slightly smaller perceived screen size and no front camera, shipping in September. Or you can step up in the lineup with the Luma Ultra going for $599, and including some extra cameras for better 6-degree of freedom tracking when it releases, a built-in microphone, better brightness, and a few others. The VITURE Beast glasses do also exist, and they're better than all of these, but they're not part of this particular lineup. The only thing stopping me from recommending these in a heartbeat is that current lack of 6-degree of freedom tracking. I truly believe that these will bring the glasses to the absolute next level and make the overall experience just that much better for productivity and entertainment, because aside from that missing feature, these glasses are incredible. Probably the best display I own, and I can see these coming with me for a lot of my travels. And that's it. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, maybe even hit subscribe if you think I deserve it. I'd like to state again that while VITURE is getting an early review copy of the video and script, it's solely for brand safety and fact checking, and my overall opinion on the device will not be modified. Outside of getting to keep the device, I'm receiving no financial or any other compensation for the creation of this content. A massive thanks again to VITURE for sending these out for me to check out. If you want more information on my stance on affiliate links, review, partners, etc., you can head to probablyhades.co/money. If you want more of me, you can follow me over on Instagram, you can join up the Discord, or you can check out my other social medias with the links on screen and in the description below. If you want more videos, you can click over here to check out when I tried to run VR games on my MacBook, or you can click over here to check out just kind of whatever YouTube thinks you'll like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.